Hey guys, tonight we whisper into the stone throat of a cathedral lost to time a place where sermons are sung in silence, and every note scorches the air like brimstone. You've heard whispers of it, haven't you? The chapel where the choirs never stop, where ash drifts like incense, and the sound can peel your soul into ribbons. This is when the black sermon begins, and we're walking in alone. You step onto the forest path, though there's no map that ever marked it. Your feet move with that peculiar certainty, the kind nightmares lent just before you fall. The trees pull away like bowing servants, their limbs heavy with winter even though it's late spring. The moon above is full, though you can't recall ever seeing it rise. You hear nothing but the hush of soil damp beneath your boots, and that distant sound like a hymn sung under breath. You probably won't survive this, so before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And tell me, where are you watching from, and what time is it there? Now, dim the lights. Maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. The monastery reveals itself in pieces, emerging through fog like a memory you wish you hadn't found again. Walls too tall for function, towers with no doors. Stained glass windows depicting figures with no eyes and no mouths, only open throats, as if forever mid-chant. You feel it immediately, that pressure behind your eyes. Not pain, but density. The way air thickens just before a storm or after a lie. The hymn is louder now, but still nowhere. You look around. There is no one. But the sound keeps calling, impossibly distant, impossibly inside you. The gates do not open. They simply part. Their hinges groan like a dirge, metal scraping old blood from stone. No one greets you. There is no sign of recent life, only the occasional print in the ash coating the marble floor, and none shaped like a human foot. Inside, the air is charred parchment and candle grease. Your breath forms little clouds that linger too long. You find yourself drawn to the pews. There are hundreds, but only a few are dusted clean, as though used. You sit, compelled by a politeness you don't remember learning. The sound is clearer here. Less like music, more like prayer, but cracked and distant. Your ears feel wet. You look down at your hands resting on the hymn book beside you. It has no title, just a cover of scorched leather, warped and cracking like old skin. You open it, the pages are blank, and yet you feel the words, humming through your bones, a rhythm in your teeth. There's ash between the pages. When you touch it, it smears along your fingers, not dry like fireplace soot, but sticky and faintly warm, like something freshly cremated. You try to wipe it off, but your skin seems to absorb it. The air hums louder. You turn. There is no choir. Just that heavy black altar and a single massive candle, flame tall and still. But the music, yes, it must be music now. It moves in you like breath, like guilt. You walk the aisle toward the altar, each step echoing softer than the last. You notice now no icons, no crucifixes. Only a long, etched phrase across the apse, vox nullis audit, no voice hears. It's carved in a language you shouldn't know, but you do. You know it. The phrase crawls under your skin and settles like old wine in your blood. The candle flares, though no wine stirs. Behind the altar, a door narrow, barely large enough to admit you. You hesitate. A draft of music breathes out through its seams. The song is pleading, not sweet, never sweet. More like a warning sung as a lullaby, minor key weeping wrapped in velvet dissonance. You touch the doorknob, it turns easily. Inside, darkness. And stairs. You descend. You counted 14 steps before the dark erased numbers. Your hand trails the wall, wet and smooth like muscle. You can't see, but you feel carvings under your fingertips, lips, mouths, open throats, again and again. The hymn grows faintly louder with each step. Your ears pop. You arrive in a small vestibule, stone, domed. Its acoustics are perfect. Every breath returns to you. Double ... at the center, a single pew scorched black. Upon it, the same hymnal, this time, The cover opens before you touch it. Inside, one line burned through ash-white vellum. You are now among the listening. You do not remember sitting down, but you are seated. The door behind you is gone. You feel a warmth at your back. Breath, no sound. You are not alone here. The sermon hasn't started yet, but the song never stopped. And tonight, it's humming in your name. The pew groans beneath you would not hold, but burdened. Every creak is a breath held too long. You sit still, though your muscles itch to move. Not out of fear, no, not yet, but reverence, like you've wandered into a funeral where the corpse is divine. The air in this crypt tastes of salt and dusted brass. Behind you, something shifts, but not in space, in presence. A soft inhalation, vast as a cathedral, curls the air inward. You don't turn. You don't need to. The song shifts, subtle but sudden, like a singer finally stepping into range. Its melody is narrower now, more focused. Less a hymn for all, more a summons for one, you. The walls sweat sound. You hear it not with your ears, but with your marrow. The choir isn't above, nor behind, it's beneath the stone, clawing upward note by note. They don't sing words. They were words, once phrases broken into syllables. Meaning fractured into pitch. You remember the phrase carved above the altar. Vox nullis audit, yet something does hear. Something listens back. The pews beyond your own are filled now. You don't know when it happened, but they are. You dare not look directly. Instead, from the corner of your eye, you see them robes stitched from flayed parchment, ink still glistening on the folds. Some have faces, some do not. All are angled slightly forward, in adoration, toward the pulpit that does not yet exist. They are singing, not aloud but inward, their heads bowed in that posture of sacred agony. Every few breaths, one jerks subtly as if swallowing a scream. One stands, it moves to the front of the chamber, dragging a censer behind it. Ash dribbles from its base with each swing. The smoke thickens, not gray but wine-colored, a strange scarlet fog that stains your tongue with its taste. You cough, no one turns. The figure lifts its arms. It holds something wrapped in gauze and iron wire, a skull, a scroll. You can't tell. But the instant it is raised, the hymn stops, silence. Not the absence of sound, but the murder of it. Your heartbeat becomes a cannon. The wet pressure behind your eyes returns. Stronger, you feel the gravity of the thing in the robed figure's hands. Not physical, but ancestral, like your blood knows it. Like it came from you, no voice speaks, but the sermon begins. And it begins with the flaying of language itself. One word, spoken inside your thoughts, a syllable that rewrites how your name feels on your tongue. You don't remember your name now, only this one, pulsing like a wound in the shape of a vowel. Around you, the congregation hums, not with voice, with bones. Their skeletons vibrate faintly, enough to make the air tremble. Dust lifts from the floor in spirals. The red fog shivers in place. You look down. The hymnal has changed. The pages now hold script, lines inked in bone sap, letters writhing faintly like larvae dreaming of wings. You cannot read them, but you understand them. They tell of the first sermon, not this one, the first. It was sung not with tongues, but knives, choir boys, carved hollow. Their lungs replaced with piping reeds, their bones tuned. Their mouths sewn open, forever gasping. They sang until the walls bled theology, until their voices turned to ash. And here is the mystery no one answers. Who was listening? The Black Psalm of Vorther hints at it, some entity that feeds not on faith, but failure. It listens only when the choir breaks, when the song falters into agony. Perfection bores it, praise repels it, only ruin draws its gaze. The hymn resumes, softer now, a sorrowful strain, as if someone has lost their way mid-verse. You realize the singer is you. You hum without knowing. The tune coils out of your lungs like steam from a cracked kettle. The congregation approves. You feel it in your skin, a prickle of pleasure not your own. The song deepens. Your body sinks to it. Your Your breath hitches on the same eighth note again and again. You are becoming the hymn. This is what they meant by among the listening. The gauze-wrapped relic is unwrapped slowly, reverently. The cloth falls away like falling leaves. It is not a skull. It is not a scroll. It is a face still living. Its eyes are stitched closed. Its mouth sewn into a perfect O. Its flesh has no wrinkle, no age, but also no time. It could be yesterday. It could be your mother. Your child. You cannot stop looking at it. The robed figure places it upon the altar. And it begins to sing. No lungs, no tongue, just sound. Bleeding from the stitched mouth like syrup from a cracked jar. You convulse once, only once. The sound was beautiful. It shouldn't be, but it is. You understand now why they never leave. Not because they can't, because they don't want to. Some truths taste like divinity even when they rot. And this hymn is the truest thing you've ever felt. You hum again this time. On purpose, your voice harmonizes with the altar face. The congregation does not turn, but they know. They lean forward. They listen closer. You've joined them, not in posture, in purpose. And from somewhere beneath your ribs, you feel your lungs shift just slightly, like something else is settling in. The thing beneath your ribs isn't content to lie still. It flutters now like a moth trapped in oil, or the first writhing of something embryonic that never asked to be born. Each breath you draw seems less yours. The air tastes fermented, sour with memory, and to warm, it coats your throat like an old lie you can't spit out. The face on the altar, still impossibly alive, sings in a key no choir boy was ever meant to reach. Its mouth stays sewn shut, yet the sound thickens, spreading like wine on parchment. You feel it saturating the walls, the pews, the marrow in your teeth. It is not a song of praise. It's a summons, and something answers. Far behind you, where the stone chapel should end, there is instead a breach, a place where darkness behaves badly. Not like shadow, but like spilled ink that refuses to obey gravity. You try to turn, to see it, but your neck is reluctant. You feel a shiver in the hymn itself. A tremor, barely audible, like a forgotten note from the first draft of a melody. The congregation does not react, but then again, neither do tombstones when the worms begin their feast. Now comes the first true proof that the black sermon has begun. Your mouth opens. Not by choice, not violently, but with the gentleness of ceremony. Something begins to climb your throat. No, not climb, emerge. Like a song you've always known but never dared hum. It's dry, it's delicate, it tastes like parchment and longing. You speak a word, just one. You don't remember learning it, but your blood does. The walls quiver at its utterance. The pews adjust slightly, as if inching forward, eager to catch the next syllable. Even the face on the altar seems to pause, one sonite twitching, as if it recognizes you. You are, after all, the new choir, or rather, replacement. You hear the sound again, the fluttering beneath your ribs. It pulses in rhythm now with the red fog's slow churning. Inhale, flutter, exhale, stillness. The hymnal opens of its own accord, a new page. The ink's still wet, as if written just for you. The lines writhe into form, the fifth tongue silenced. The sixth has learned the pitch of suffering. Blessed be the bones that betray their flesh. You're not alone in reading it. One of the parchment-robed congregation begins to tremble. Not with fear, with ecstasy. Its hood falls back. You glimpse its face. There is none, only stretched skin, like a blank canvas pulled tight over a breathing skull. But as it faces you, your own features shimmer faintly across it, lips twitching. Eyes blinking, you realize it's mirroring you in delay. As if learning, a choir boy learns by mimicking. You are the lesson. Another figure rises, then another. Each one facing you now, each one a fraction more shaped like your silhouette. The folds of their robes cling tighter, aligning to your posture. They begin to hum not the current hymn, but your note, the one you birthed by accident. They're joining your sermon. This was never about listening. This was about spreading. The Black Psalm of Vorther has a lost stanza. often redacted by the order of cradled silence. But if you've read the right margins, felt the right shiver in the candle wax, then you'll know the phrase. Let not the sermon end until every throat is open. Now you understand. The face on the altar opens its eyes. You see only voids, not darkness void. The kind of absence that makes your brain forget how to imagine light. You flinch, but too slowly, the void sees you. The congregation reacts, each one bending forward in a single, fluid movement. Like reeds caught in wind, a bell tolls. Not from above, from below, the sound bubbles through the floor like rising blood. It is thick, it carries weight, every bone in your spine rings with it. And then, silence again, but not stillness. The breach behind you, yes, the one you refuse to look at, has widened. You smell it now, not rot, not sulfur. Milk, burned milk, the forbidden scent that drips from the mouths of children who died dreaming of the wrong names. And here lies the first great unsolved mystery. Why do the choir boys keep singing, even after their voices are taken? The old monks said it was habit. The archivists say it's fear. But Vorther hinted at a deeper cruelty desire. Once the black sermon finds you, you want to sing. You need to, because silence becomes pain. Because stillness becomes punishment. Because the moment you stop humming, you remember the shape of your own death, and it is unpleasantly familiar. You hear it now, a note, discordant, from within yourself. Something your body didn't consent to, a harmony trailing your breath. Something learning to use you like a flute. Another parchment-robed figure approaches. This one carries a knife. It does not offer threat, it offers help. Because the next nota, it cannot be sung with lips intact. You don't resist, not out of submission, but because the silence between notes hurts now. There is a price to every chorus. Yours is about to be exacted. The knife gleams with a kind of gentleness that unnerves more than any jagged edge. It is curved, ivory-handled, and etched with sigils that resemble open mouths screaming in reverse. You notice the blade never reflects your face, only what you'll become. The parchment-robed figure kneels before you with reverence, not worship. More like one musician acknowledging another before a duet. Its hands do not tremble. They are the hands of someone who has done this before too many times. The blade kisses your lip, just a press. Then it slides, not downward, not inward, sideways. Your mouth parts like an ancient curtain, quietly unraveling across your cheeks. There is no pain, only heat. A rising warmth like the exhale of something large and resting beneath your skin. It sighs with relief. Finally, you are open enough. The new mouth does not bleed, it sings. You didn't choose the melody, but your body leans into it as if you had. You hit notes you shouldn't know, rhythms older than your ancestry. The sound is terrible, exquisite. It peels the dust from the rafters, it cracks the stained glass from the inside. And the congregation responds in kind. Each parchment-robed thing begins to contort, their own mouths once stitched. Now seem to open wider, wider, until their jaws unhinge, until their throats echo your harmony. Until the chapel becomes a chamber of vibration, humming with the ache of a forgotten deity's heartbeat. Now comes the silence again, not because the music stops, but because the world stops hearing. Sound exists only here now. Inside this reality wound you become part of. The rest of the world grows deaf, perhaps mercifully so. But not you. You hear too much, and one note rises above the others. The choir master has entered. You do not see him. You sense him. A displacement of meaning, a weight in the atmosphere that thickens your blood and makes your teeth ache in patterns. The parchment beings fall to their knees, not out of loyalty, but because gravity shifts for him. You feel your breath stolen again. Not by force, by invitation. You are about to sing your solo. This is where the black psalm of Vorther grows faint, because no surviving copy includes the solo. It is always torn, burned, redacted with wax and blade. Archivists refuse to speak of it. One monk once tried to hum it. He never made a sound again. But his lungs kept breathing. On their own, for 9 years, you sing now. and the stone beneath your feet softens, liquefying into dark water, not wet, but damp with memory. You begin to sink, but not physically, rather conceptually. The idea of you drips downward your past, your thoughts, your favorite colors, your most hidden lies gone, dripping through the cracks into the other place. And this, too, is familiar, because here lies another mystery. Why do all roads that end in the black sermon begin in childhood? You remember now barely a lullaby, one line. A voice like mother's, but never named, hummed beneath your cradle. A note too minor to question, and you, drooling infant, blinked in time with its rhythm. The choir has been waiting since then. The choirmaster steps forward, still unseen, but you feel him stretch, like a thing uncoiling, finally allowed to unfold to full height. There is no form, only presence, and in its presence, you lose the ability to lie to yourself. You wanted this not because of desire, but because of recognition. The sermon always calls its own. You are not a visitor, you are a returning voice. And so, you speak 3 words, in the first tongue, the one whispered before language or skin. The sound cracks your vision, not your eyes your vision. The way you perceive light changes, now you see their true shapes. The parchment choir is not rope, they are skinned. Their flesh is hymnal, their veins written verses, their mouths inkless quills awaiting your syllables. You wrote them, you are the sermon. A terrible truth slides into your spine like a key into an old lock. This place is not performing the ritual. It is you, and you've done this before. Each incarnation, each rebirth, each version of yourself across all forgotten times, everyone has eventually returned here to sing again, to open the next gate. The choirmaster speaks, not in words, but in instruction, a dissonant hum that embraces your marrow, revealing the script buried in your bones. You look down, your arms are tattooed in staves. Your ribs, when visible, are carved flutes. The next verse cannot be sung, it must be played. The parchment beings rise again, drawing instruments of bone and ash. A symphony is about to be summoned, and your body is the orchestra. The chapel breathes, the stained glass whimpers. The breach behind you begins to chant in reverse, and the choirmaster begins to conduct. Your spine arches, your hands raise, your fingers bend into forbidden chords. It is time, the solo begins. The solo begins with silence. Not absent suppression, your thoughts mute one by one, as if snuffed like candles in a cathedral abandoned mid-service. Even your heartbeat begins to hesitate, wondering whether it should keep pace with something so ancient, so final. Then comes the first sound. A bow made of your own hair draws across your exposed ribs. Somehow, they resonate like strings, each note a truth you had buried deep in your blood. Every breath you ever stole, every name you whispered in vain, every lie you believed in order to remain yourself. All of it plays, your ribs know no mercy. You are the instrument now, and you've always been poorly tuned. The parchment choir forms a circle, not around you, within you. Their limbs weave through your perception, their shadows flickering in and out of geometry, contradicting the space they occupy. One has no eyes, it watches you. Another has too many mouths, all humming in discordant agreement. The tallest lacks skin entirely, but wears memory like a veil. And they wait, because the solo isn't a performance, it's a summoning. A tear forms in the air, just one. Not a rip in fabric, but in expectation. It droops downward like melted wax, leaking from a sky that isn't there. Something presses against it from the other side. It does not knock ... it listens. The solo must reach crescendo before it enters, so you play harder. The marrow in your fingers catches fire, not literal flame, but the kind of heat that reminds your body it was once stardust punished into shape. Notes spiral outward from your chest, painting symbols in the air. You don't understand them, but they understand you. Now the choir sings again, no melody. Just raw note, raw truth, raw memory, a cursed lineage awakens. Not yours, someone else's, yet you feel it nest in your throat. You taste dust and devotion, blood and wedding wine. The betrayal of a crown forged in absence, that ancient family tree grows here. Upside down, its roots are chandeliers of bone, dangling above your head, swaying with each note. And on every brittle limb hangs a masked porcelain, flawless, and cracked only where the mouths ought to be. Each mask bears a name, your name, every version of it, scrawled in forgotten alphabets. One in the language of drowned sailors, ... another in the black tongues only spoken by church bells when no one's listening. And another, perhaps the most recent, whispers itself when you breathe. You want to scream, but screaming would be redundant. You already are the scream. This is the cost of calling the Black Sermon, and still the tear widens. Now you see the thing inside. It resembles nothing, and yet you recognize it. A thought that once occurred to you in a fevered dream, forgotten upon waking, but still lodged like a splinter in the soul. Its shape shifts constantly. Sometimes it has wings, sometimes it is wings. Sometimes it wears your mother's voice like a shawl. It speaks with a sound like reverse time. Your spine cracks backwards. Your hands erupt into not light, not fire, not lightning. Something older, something hungry, and here, now, comes the lore no one dared archive. In the third verse of the unfinished dirge, the entity known as the listener through glass is invited by soloist's lament. Its arrival marks the transition between internal sacrifice and external consequence. That's what this is. The transition. Your ribs are no longer played. They are played through. Every string is a passage, every note a doorway. Your body begins to thin, lengthening across reality like stretched canvas. Your silhouette bleeds into the walls, joining the forgotten saints frozen in stained glass. And that's when you feel it. The eldritch mystery none have solved. Why does the listener never exit the same way it entered? You realize too late, you are the exit. The listener enters through song, but must depart through flesh ... your flesh. And so you begin to unravel. Not with pain, not even with fear, but with knowing. The knowing that this has happened before. Recall the stained glass pane that cracked during your note. It reassembles now in reverse. You watch the splinters rise from the ground, darting back into the window like guilty thoughts returning to the mind. The image it forms, a face, your face. But wrong, its eyes drip upward. Its mouth is not a mouth. Its expression is both begging and devouring. You do not scream. There is no need. The choir falls silent again. But their silence is thunderous, their stillness quivering with intent. The listener has exited. You are ... mostly intact, but the chapel is not. The floor now breathes in time with your pulse. The ceiling has changed texture, wet parchment covered in ink that moves when unobserved. One pew is filled with shadows wearing the shape of your loved ones. They smile to wide, as if practicing. And outside, there is no outside, only the echo of the note you began. Looping ... building, preparing for verse 2. You try to breathe. The air cuts you back. It slides in like a thief through a window you didn't leave open. Cool, yes, but not refreshing. It tastes of parchment soaked in ancient oil, of candle smoke that was never lit, and of something unmistakably old, not in years, but in use. You've drawn this breath before, so have many others. You just weren't the first to breathe it from this side. The listener is gone, but only physically. Its departure leaves behind an echo. Not sound, but space, the hollowed-out feeling of an empty chair at a ritual feast, the after-image of a figure you dare not recall. The chapel's breath matches yours, shallow and arrhythmic. A stained glass child stirs in her frame. Did you blink? No, she blinked. The tear at her cheek reverses. The blood she wept earlier flows upward now, re-entering her painted eye. A reversal of mourning, a rehearsal of what's to come. This is where the second verse begins. You feel it before you hear it. The tremor in the floorboards, the sound of a choir boy's heels striking stone in practiced rhythm. 1 step, pause. 2 steps, drag. 3 steps, whisper, over and over. Like a code you can almost decipher. Then more footsteps, dozens, hundreds. Not in sync, never that kind of harmony. More like pieces of different songs stitched together with rusted wire. You smell them before they arrive. Scorched linen, boiled milk, teeth. Then the choir returns, not your parchment ensemble. The real one, the original boys. Their lungs still smoke. Their robes still burn. Their eyes where they remain gleam like candle ends, desperate not to go out again. They file in through no door, spilling from the cracks between pews, tumbling from folds in the frescoes above. One climbs out of your mouth, apologizes, bows. They begin to hum. This is no rehearsal. This is penance. You recognize one of them, or rather, he recognizes you. He walks backward, knees facing the wrong way, but confidently. As if the error is yours, not his, he carries a hymnal bound in skin. Though it flips its pages before he can touch them, he sings your name. Not the one you go by, the other one. The name you were warned never to answer to, the name carved behind your eyelids. Always just out of reach unless your dreams boil over. He holds the final note, then he breathes out dust. You smell ash, but not wood, lung ash. They've sung themselves to death again. This is how the second verse begins every time. The first choir offers the invitation. The second choir atones. Because they started the black sermon once, long ago, and they failed. Now they must sing it backward every night until it works. You catch a glimpse of their leader. Her robes are woven from funeral veils. Her face, though turned away, reflects in every polished surface, but only as a child. A perfect girl, her smile cracked at the corners like baked clay. She was the last one to die before the song failed. She was the key, and she blames you. No, not you personally, but you as vessel. You as the one who dares to pick up where they collapsed. You are the resonance now. You are the mouthpiece, the reed, the bone flute, and the verse must be corrected through you. You feel your throat tighten, not from pressure, but from intention. The notes want to leave you. They do not care whether you understand. They simply want to be born. The fourth canticle of Ashvir contains a single line erased from all subsequent volumes. To sing with dead lungs is to borrow God's breath briefly. And without permission, this is borrowed breath. And it's not yours to keep. Your mouth opens, not wide, but wrong. The angles are slightly reversed. The teeth sit in a different order. Something in your jaw clicks into an arrangement only music can decipher. You sing a single note, the walls bend. Not crack, not shape bend. The air slouches inward. Candles forget they were ever lit. Even time flinches. You see yourself 5 seconds ago, mouthing the same syllable. The stained glass child opens her mouth. She joins you, so do the choir boys. Even the one still on fire. This is not a harmony. This is a curse said beautifully, and all of it, every note, every breath feeds into the thing that now grows inside the chapel. It is not visible, but you feel its shadow on your shadow. The eldritch mystery reveals itself only in metaphor, a weight where no object exists, a shiver when nothing touches you, a memory of a sin you haven't yet committed. The ear tells you, if the third verse begins, it cannot be undone. And the second is nearly done. The girl in the veil turns her head. For the first time, her eyes meet yours. One eye is normal, the other is not an eye at all. It is your childhood home, the front door. The crooked lamp on the lawn. The cellar you never dared enter, she sees you through it. And you feel seen not in the modern, comforting way, but in the old sense, the dangerous sense, as when gods see a sacrifice, as when predators see their prey. She smiles. It doesn't belong on her face, but it belongs here. This verse is nearly done. And now the last note begins. The choir doesn't sing it, you do. Alone, one long exhalation, forced from deep in your diaphragm, somewhere behind your ribs, deeper than your spine, near the place where your dreams never settle. The note leaves you. but doesn't stop. It circles the chapel, gathers heat, changes color, alters temperature. It becomes visible, a shimmering strand of sound-made flesh. Like molten copper forced into cursive script, it writes itself in the air and ends with a name, yours, but spelled backward, and that backward name. It opens the next door. You didn't see the door before. It was always there, disguised as absence. Now it waits for you to enter. And the third verse waits behind it. You don't remember stepping forward. The chapel stays behind. Or perhaps beneath you its final choir boys folding back into pews like broken marionettes, their voices sealed into the wood grain. The backward name still hangs in the air, pulsing like a wound that won't clot. The door accepts you, no creak, no threshold. Just a soft change in air pressure, like a sealed tomb reluctantly welcoming another resident. This room breathes inward. It smells of velvet rot and burnt ink. The walls are narrow, but not claustrophobic now. This place is built to listen, a confessional turned inside out. Every surface is a drumhead, tight and trembling, waiting to be struck with truth. You're not alone, but whoever is here hides not in shadow but in pause. In the half-second between footfalls, in the unvoiced consonants of forgotten names. And in the center, a well, not a simple pit. A well forged from bones that volunteered, each vertebra shaped into careful spirals, painted with sigils in crushed rose petal ink and a lacquer of something shinier than blood. The rim still glistens wet, but not with water, something older, something that sings if you lean too close. Don't lean, but of course you do. The song from the well is not loud, but it finds your blood, threads through your pulse like a needle through silk. The melody is a memory you do not own. A mother singing to a child who isn't hers, a lullaby for a thing she buried. A song you only hear the moment before drowning, and worse, you hum along. The words arrive on your tongue, already shaped. They taste like mercy curdled by regret. The final stanza makes your teeth itch. Still, you continue. The well approves. It answers with laughter. Not human, not mocking, just fond. Like something has found you again after a long search and is delighted you've grown into such a useful vessel. A shape rises from the well. Fluid at first, like mist pouring backward, it gathers mass, finds outline. Clumps of hair, fingernails clattering like beetles, feathers that rot as they form. Eyes bloom in impossible numbers across its chest, some blinking in time, others fixed on things that haven't happened yet. One eye looks exactly like yours, another your father's. A third opens behind you. Don't turn, you do, there is no one. But the eye closes anyway. The thing from the well speaks in seams. Its words aren't audible but arrive like stitches down your spine. Every syllable a little tug. You have begun the song again. You foolish, holy thing, it does not ask permission. Its hand, a cluster of palms folded into a bloom, touches your shoulder gently, like a priest guiding a penitent. Like a puppeteer testing the tension, your knees buckle, but not from fear, from recognition. You've known this touch before. It's the one that pressed you into your crib as a baby. The one that shoved your head underwater in last year's dream. The one that turned the final page of that book you don't remember reading. The creature whispers a riddle. What sings but has no mouth, listens but has no ears, remembers but has no soul. You want to answer. You don't, you shouldn't, still, your lips part. The answer emerges like pus, the scripture bell. And now you hear it, low at first, like thunder locked in a stone box. Then louder, the scripture bell tolls once for every truth you've denied. 5, no 7. No 8, because you lied about 7. It tolls again for every name you've borrowed, and one final toll, softer than a breath, for the name they gave you before your bones were your own. You weep briefly. The creature collects your tears and rubs them into its chest, where they hiss and disappear. It speaks again. The third verse is a maze. The fourth is a mirror. The fifth, well, that one bleeds. It holds out a hand. You take it. The skin is warm. That's worse somehow. The well descends, not physically. Philosophically, you are now beneath it. The room inverts itself, or you invert yourself. You fall upward, past prayers half-written in nail gouges, past paintings of saints whose eyes have been sewn shut. You land in a corridor made entirely of scripture, not paper. The very walls are composed of sacred text layered, rewritten, crossed out, screamed over, some written in chalk, others in vein ink. You recognize certain phrases, but they scurry away when you look directly. The corridor does not end, it offers endings. Each doorway on either side bears a symbol, a forked tongue, a broken key, a black sun rising beneath a wide ocean. All familiar, all wrong. You are meant to choose one. No door leads forward. The thing whispers, but one door loops you backward correctly. Choose, it tells you. Choose like someone who remembers. You hesitate. The floor below you begins to hum again, low, then louder. The third choir is coming. And they do not walk, they crawl over ceilings. Through the scripture walls, across your back, you must choose now. And so you reach not for the door with your name, or the symbol that matches your dreams, but the one that wasn't there a moment ago, a door carved from absence. You press your hand against nothing, and step through everything. Behind you, the well sings again. Its final note is your heartbeat. But it's playing in reverse. The door swallows you. There is no frame, no threshold, only a brief, syrup-thick resistance, like passing through someone else's dream. Then the world changes shape. The room you enter is not a room. It's a spatial confession. You stand on a slope of calcified regret, leading down into a cathedral inverted like a drowned cathedral's reflection. Stained glass windows float in midair, dismembered from any architecture. Their depictions shift when unobserved, burning cities, crowned skeletons, weeping deities with mouths stitched shut. When you blink, the scenes finish their motions. A single note echoes, the bell again, but faint. It rings inside your marrow, and you are not alone. The pews below are full, but not of worshippers. Not anymore. These are the silent witnesses. Once men, now ... listening vessels. Their mouths have been sewn into wide smiles. Their eyes plucked clean, but replaced with ink-stained pearls. Each wears a collar of scripture parchment looped tight enough to bruise, and each clutches a book that cannot be opened. They turn their heads toward you, not in sequence, not together, but intimately, like a family recognizing the missing member. One witness stands. Its movements are clockwork smooth. Limbs swinging to far. Neck rotating like an astrolabe. You know it. Know you were it, somewhere in another coil of this place. It bows, and in its bow you glimpse a mirror. Not of silver or glass, but of memory. You see yourself, kneeling, singing, ash rising from your mouth like incense. A boy, maybe 10, maybe older, the robes don't fit. You're trying to sing the right note, but your throat keeps splitting. And someone keeps rewinding the moment. Every time you hit the wrong pitch, the memory resets. You blink, the witness straightens. Something cracks, not a bone, but the timeline. It gestures to the altar. There is no priest, only a chair. Carved from the skulls of songbirds and human babies unidentifiable now. Their sockets drip with candlelight, not wax. Something weeps within the chair, but the sound never reaches your ears. It just rattles the ribs you didn't know were fractured. You're meant to sit. You don't want to. You do. The chair doesn't welcome so much as claim. It settles your limbs into positions you didn't intend. Your spine clicks into alignment with ancient choreography. Your hands fold atop each other, thumbs inverted. A scroll floats before you, black vellum. Edges curled as if fire-kissed, yet unburnt. The black sermon begins, not read, not heard, felt. The words slither into your lungs, bypassing your mouth entirely. Your breath exhales the syllables in the wrong order. The witnesses nod. One by one, they begin to hum along, and in that moment, you understand the cruelty of Choir boy martyrdom. They were not killed, They were written into the hymn. Their deaths were punctuation. The witnesses rise. They form a circle around you. Hands joined. Books open at last. But there's nothing inside the pages, only mirrors. When you look down, your scroll is now blank. And your mouth is open. You can't close it. The sermon speaks through you now. You are its organ, its pipe, its joy boy. The scroll tightens into your chest. You feel it burrow between ribs, flatten along your heart. It pulses once, then vanishes. No scar remains. Only music, only burning. You remember now. The third choir did not fail. It succeeded, and that was worse. Its song summoned the listener. And the listener is still listening. You hear a scratching sound beneath the chair. A trapdoor? No, not quite. A mouth. It opens slowly, teeth etched with scripture. Tongue made of unraveling vocal cords. The chair tilts back. You begin to fall not down, but inward. The witnesses vanish, folding into pages. The cathedral unbuilds itself, stone rising, glass and shattering, light reversing. And then you land in dust, dry, muffled, familiar. The scent of dead parchment and singed beeswax. You're in the archive, yes, the archive, the listener's library. Shelves rise like cliffs, each stacked with unspoken truths, tomes bound in scalps. Scrolls written in thread, some shelves bleed. Others breathe, a few watch you. You stand, knees trembling, in your hand, a bookmark, now a ton. Dried and tied into a loop, it's yours. The one you lost during the sermon, you tuck it into your robe. A familiar footstep echoes ahead, bare, wet, another follows. Then more, dozens, now a procession. They march in silence. Each figure cloaked in hymnals sewn into robes, faces erased by ink. One holds a bell on a chain of knuckles, another clutches an hourglass filled with sighs. They pass you by, except the last. It turns and whispers. You will forget again, you always do. Then vanishes into the rows. The book drops from the highest shelf. You flinch, it lands open, inside, your name. Not written screamed across the pages, each letter a different language. Some human, some not. The title reads, Chapter 1, The Boy Who Sang Wrong. The next line changes as you read it. Chapter 2, The Man Who Remembered Too Much. A third begins to scrawl itself. Chapter 3, But the ink bleeds. Runs, evaporates. The book closes, locks itself. Whispers, not yet, behind you. The archive's lights dim. A new path opens, not between shelves, but through a portrait, a painting of a choir boy. You recognize him now. You never had a brother, but someone buried one on your behalf. The boy in the painting smiles and blinks. You step into the portrait. The frame stretches as your body passes through, elastic like wet oil paint. It should tear, but instead it wraps around you, viscous and cloying. Until the last of your heel vanishes, you are reborn on the other side into the airless hush of a parlor long since exhaled. The ceiling bends like a cathedral's spine, crooked with time, stitched with dangling rosaries and moth-eaten veils. Everything smells faintly of petrichor and embalming salts, as if a rainstorm had passed through the afterlife itself, and the boy is here. He stands in the corner, not younger, not older, not anything. Really, a negative shape where a child might have once existed. Eyes like rotted silver coins, a collar to tight. You remember how it choked you, how the brass clasp would dig into your nape when you tried to hit the high notes. His hands twitched to the rhythm of a silent metronome. Behind him, the walls pulse. They are covered in musical notation scores scrawled in black ichor, not ink, the staves carved directly into the wood. As you approach, the notes shiver. Some leap off the wall and float in the air, spiraling around your head like gnats. The boy tilts his head. He opens his mouth. Inside, not teeth, not tongue of scroll, coiled tight, dry, singing. Faintly, he does not speak, but you understand the command. And roll me, you reach inside his mouth not with revulsion, not even hesitation. This is ritual, and rituals are often worse when resisted. The scroll is alive. It slithers in your hand as you pull it free, trailing like a serpent's shed skin. The text is written in blood, but not spilled blood now. It pulses faintly. It is blood that still remembers its owner. You read, you wish you hadn't. This is the 5th canticle of the damned, forbidden even within the archive. Mentioned only once in the Black Psalm of Vorther, where it's described as the note which devours its own echo. The canticle has no melody, only recursion. It loops, it feeds on its own history. Every time it's read, it consumes one of your memories, a precious one, to make space. The boy watches. You feel the first bite. Your mother's face gone, not a blur, not a fade, just absence. A hollow space in your childhood. In its place, a single musical note, black and quivering. You read on. The second bite takes your name. You see the syllables unspool from your mouth like cobwebs and vanish into the air. Your tongue forgets how to form them. The boy nods. He's nodding in rhythm now. You reach the final stanza. It reads, let the listener attend. Let the unnamed sing, and the room responds. A door appears, not a real door, but a shape in the wall where paint refuses to cling, a silhouette of exit. Behind it, voices, but not singing, arguing. Scholars, perhaps priests, keepers of lore, undone by what they cannot contain. You step forward, but the boy hisses. It's the sound of wet pages being torn. He raises one hand. His fingers splay into 5 tuning forks, humming discordantly. The scroll in your hands burns. You drop it, but it coils around your wrist, fusing to your skin. You understand now. The canticle wasn't a prayer, it was a summons. And it summoned you. The door buckles. A face peers through, no eyes, only mouths, dozens, maybe more, opening in sequence. Each sings a different note. It's not harmony, it's surgical dissonance. You stagger backward. The boy doesn't move. The mouths begin to speak in overlapping tones. He is ready. Sing him whole. Let him forget again. The door shatters, not wood. Not even sound, just a concept now and done. From the aperture crawls something shaped like an idea. You can't describe it, because you've already forgotten what it looked like. You knew for a second. That was enough. It glides forward. The boy steps in front of you. Raises both arms, opens his mouth. The scroll re-emerges. Still burning, still wet. He sings one note. Low, so low it seems like silence, but it pulls your teeth inward. The creature pauses, tilts, and retreats. Back through the door, gone, the scroll crumbles into ash in your hand. The boy sits down, cross-legged, waiting. You say nothing because you can't. Where once was your tongue, now there's a quill. A long, ivory thing, your throat aches with ink. You are being rewritten, and not for the first time. You feel your left eye weep, and when you wipe it, your finger comes away black. Another stanza lost, another song preparing. In the far corner of the room, a clock begins ticking. There is no clock visible, but the sound is all-encompassing. It counts backwards. You exit the parlor through a door that was not there a moment ago. The handle is your voice box. You leave it behind and step into silence. The silence isn't absence, it's presence. A thick, waxy mass that presses into your ears, sealing off the world you just left. You step forward, but the floor gives way with a soft squelch. Not stone, not wood, something softer, something that shudders when touched. The corridor ahead pulses like the inside of a creature's throat. It smells of expired parchment and clotted honey, sweet and wrong. As you walk, each step elicits a faint chord, plucked from beneath your feet, minor, dissonant, growing louder. Behind you, the door disappears. Of course it does. You are alone but not unobserved. To your right, the walls weeping. Long trails of it, sliding down in perfect calligraphic coils. Occasionally, you think the script rearranges itself when you blink. You see your own movements described a few moments before you perform them. You lift your left hand. You do. You hesitate. You do not ask why. You didn't plan to, but now you do. You will not survive the next 5 steps. The text vanishes before you can take them. You stop. Look up. There's a mirror now embedded in the ceiling. You see yourself from above. But your reflection's expression doesn't match your own. Its lips move independently. It mouths. He listens. You don't ask who. You already know. The chorister patriarch. He was once a mana conductor of the Black Choir. The one who first summoned the sermon with a tuning fork carved from a martyr's spine. The same tuning fork that replaced the boy's fingers. The same tone that cracked the monastery's dome and turned lungs to ash mid him. According to the Black Psalm of Vorther, the patriarch was chosen not for faith, but resonance. His voice harmonized with screams, and now he collects echoes. You hear his arrival before you see him. 3 notes, chanted in reverse sol, fa, do. Each note peels a layer from the wall. A shadow detaches. It unfurls across the corridor, tall and swaying. Its cloak made of hymnal pages. Its hands flayed with quills instead of fingers. It leaves behind no footsteps. Only scorched staves etched into the ground, smoking faintly. He passes you, but not without consequence. Your shadow clings to his robes, dragging behind him like a leashed thing. You feel it tear from your heels. You reach to catch it, but your arms move just too slowly. A deliberate failure, the mirror above shatters. Not with a crash but a laugh, you press on. Further into the corridor, the sconces begin to hum. No flames, just mouths where candles should be. Each hums a different note. You begin to discern words among the tones. Name him, claim him. Blame him, they speak of a betrayal. One you committed, or will commit, or were punished for anyway. It's unclear. You pass a door. Not a real one, just a rectangle of stitched together choir robes. Something wriggles beneath. You do not stop. Your pulse harmonizes with the humming now. You're becoming part of the song, at last. The corridor opens into a great hall. And by hall, understand, it was once a cathedral, now it's a body. Stone ribs arch overhead, coated with calcified chants. Blood congeals on the floor in perfect runes. 1,000 censers dangle from the ceiling, each one containing a preserved tongue, still twitching in silent lament. ... at the center. The conductor's days, empty, but not for long. You feel the patriarch behind you again, though you cannot turn. Your spine refuses the command. He passes like a breath across your neck, sits, folds his flayed hands. He gestures. 1 note sounds. And the walls obey. A procession enters. Not monks, not men, choir things. Their robes are made from the discarded skins of failed soloists. Their faces are smooth, featureless, yet wet with tears. Each carries an instrument, bones restrung with vocal cords, harps of sinew, flutes of brittle cartilage. They take their places. You are handed a baton. It's cold. It's yours. A memory returns. You once led them, not in song but in sacrifice. The hymn begins. You don't remember the notes, but your body does. Your fingers move. The choir responds. And oh, the sound, it's not music. It's confession, screamed through harmony. The walls buckle inward, as if weeping. The tongues in the censers join in, mouthing the words. And you conduct, you command, you confess. With every movement of your baton, a memory dies. Yours, theirs, ours, the choir boys who burned in the opening lines of the Black Sermon. Their screams are the high notes now. You notice the empty chair, one far in the back, reserved. For the listener, your name is stitched into the fabric, but it's spelled backwards. It's been waiting. You conduct 1 final note. It hangs in the air, stretched and sour, and in its echo, something awakens, a silence so profound, it swallows even memory. You feel the room twist and reel. You're not sure what you did, only that it can't be undone. The daze begins to rise. Carrying you with it, the choir bows, even as their mouths remain open. still screaming the final chord. The ceiling parts like a wound, and you ascend, not toward heaven, no, to where the next verse waits. You rise like a heretic reborn, hoisted not by grace, but by guilt and sinew. The day's creaks underfoot, its underside reveals not machinery, but a nest of braided spines, flexing like living rope. As you ascend through the gash in the cathedral's ceiling, the sound beneath fades into silence, but only because another sound replaces it. Breath, not yours, a collective inhalation, deep and trembling, as if the air itself is preparing to scream. You emerge into a circular chamber, vastly too large to fit within the monastery's structure. Its domed walls are engraved with musical staves, carved so deeply the lines weep sap-thick ink. Suspended from the ceiling are choir boys, 100 or more, strung upside down like bells. Each wears a copper mask molded to a scream. None move. Yet the air rings with their unuttered hymns. The day settles into the center. There are no steps, no exits, only the eyes. You feel them first. Embedded in the stone, no, not embedded, grown, spheroid cysts that blink independently, lidless and mucus-glossed, dozens, hundreds. They follow you perfectly, no matter which way you turn. You test this, you fail to trick them. Much like the listener, a voice unfurls, not sound, but meaning burned directly into your skull like a red-hot brand pressed to the mind. No language, just intention. You have conducted the opening. Now you must suffer the verses. This is the verse vault where each stanza of the Black Sermon is stored, bound in flesh and encoded in agony. The Black Psalm of Vorther describes this place only once, and only in a footnote. Here lies the vox ossium, the voice of bone. Those who listen forget what silence is. Those who speak cannot die. You will do both. The eyes close, all at once. The chamber darkens not fully, but partially, like a lantern shrouded in gauze. You're left with just enough vision to see the approach. From the far wall, a figure peels forward, not walks, not floats. Peels as if unwrapping itself from some unnatural page. A woman, perhaps, or the residue of one. Her body is composed of vellum sutured with thread, thin enough to read the reversed staves inked on her inner skin. Her head is missing, where it should be. There's a single, wide mouth. Singing, no words, just one endless, resonant note, low, almost subsonic. You feel it tremble in your stomach lining. A prelude to regurgitation. She approaches, does not touch, just circles with every pass. Her song seems to vibrate memory loose from your bones. First, you forget how old you are, then your name. Then, how many steps brought you here? You fall to your knees because you remember a lie. The one you told the boy. You told him it wouldn't hurt. You told him the music was beautiful. You promised he would see his mother again. You lied. He saw something else. The vellum woman holds. Her song stops. Everything holds its breath. From the ceiling, one of the copper-masked choir boys detaches. No rope, just gravity. Surrendering, he falls soundlessly. Does not shatter, simply lands in a crouch, as if he were never dead to begin with. His mask unfolds, not opens and folds, like petals, revealing a face you recognize. Not because you've seen it before, but because you know exactly who it is. Yourself, much younger, before the guilt. Before the song, he raises a hand, points to you. No ... behind you. You turn. There is a door. Not there a moment ago. No keyhole. No handle. Just a pulse, as though the door breathes in time with your dread. You are meant to open it. You are forbidden to open it, the Black Psalm of Vorther whispers. The third verse cannot be spoken aloud, lest the bones remember their own music. And yet, your hand moves, fingers tremble. Touch, the door does not swing. It yields, melting inward like wax touched by flame. Beyond it, a hallway of tuning forks. They line the walls. Some as small as fingers, others tall as towers. Each vibrates at a different pitch. As you step between them, they resonate in turn. You feel your thoughts pulled like wires between their frequencies. You begin to think in intervals, not words. Concepts become harmonics you understand now. The sermon was never a message, it was an infection. A resonance that rewrites bone, syllable by syllable. Each step forwards pulls more of the music into your marrow. You pass a broken fork, its stem is wet, recently used. A name carved into it, Elion, your name. The same one stitched backwards into the listener's chair. You stumble, collapse, the forks begin to chant. He hears ... he hears ... he hears ... You do not with ears, with your teeth, vibrating in time with some far-off shriek. Your joy aches ahead, light, not warmth. Just pale brilliance, sterile and surgical. You crawl toward it, behind you, the tuning forks fall silent. Your thoughts do not, the hymn continues inside. And the next verse waits to be sown through you. The light greets you not as revelation, but as interrogation. It bleaches the shadows from your skin, leaves behind the raw blueprint of your nerves. There is no heat to it, yet your skin itches, crawls, shrinks inward like paper offered to a slow flame. You step into a chamber that does not want you. Every surface walls, ceiling, even the floor beneath your bare feet is a lattice of organ pipe mouths, round and puckered. Carved from ivory and brass, some smile, some snarl. Some weep a thick amber sap from their fluted lips. They exhale in unison, like gust of memory, yours and not yours. Coats the room in the musk of monastery ink, feverish parchment, and the copper stink of boyhood blood. The pipes are breathing the past into you. You inhale, despite yourself, and remember, a procession of silence. You once marched here, didn't you? Younger, thinner, wrapped in scholars' robes you hadn't earned, you were led by the opus masters. Robed in black silk embroidered with sheet music so fine it shimmered when they moved. Their faces hidden behind manuscript masks, lone sheets of ancient vellum scrolled down from the crown like curtains, smudged with breath and red thumbprints. They brought you to the mouthless archive, this room. Then it was quiet. Now it is not. Now the pipes begin to sing. Not music, confession. The walls unburden themselves in verse. The voices of every child, every novice, every traitor who dared memorize even a single bar of the Black Sermon. Their voices bleed together into a dirge so immense it echoes inside your skeleton. The floor ripples beneath you, and the pipes inhale deeply. The walls expand like lungs, the ceiling arches. And then the scream begins. It does not emerge from any single pipe, but from all of them a unanimous shriek, mechanical and sorrowful, the scream of a body remembering how it died. You fall, hands over your ears, but it doesn't help. The sound isn't entering your head that way. It's vibrating from the inside. You've become a resonant chamber. The Psalm of Borthar called this the reckoning chord. Only 3 survivors were ever known to hear it and retain their minds. All 3 tore out their tongues within a day. A mouth is dangerous. A mouth remembers. The pipes chant your name now. No, not your name. Your father's, over and over, echoed and inverted, until it becomes a palindrome of blasphemy. Nivermouth, Nivermouth, Nivermouth. You crawl again. Fingers blister from the polished brass. Ahead, the stairwell spirals downward like a snail shell carved into a saint's skull. The mouth chamber shudders, a last gust of hot. Breathless wind propels you through the threshold and the door seals behind you with a toothsome snap. The stairs hum ... Each step sings a different note as you descend. And together they begin to form a melody. You hum along, and thinking. A lullaby you didn't know you knew. You should stop, but your voice is no longer yours. The walls moan in pleasure at the harmony. You descend through 23 rotations, each step dimmer than the last. At the bottom, a sanctuary of rot, flesh lines the walls. Flensed skin parchment stretched taut over rib-like sconces. On each, not scripture, but notation, etched in dried bile. Rows of ancient chairs line the room, each one occupied by a skinned monk. their musculature preserved with gold wire and waxy prayer. They turn to look at you. They have no eyelids. You notice this with clinical detachment until one blinks, the sound of a bell no, a throat being struck, in the center of the chamber, a pedestal, slick with condensation. On it lies a single key, not metal, tooth ivory, filed to a perfect C#. You do not remember walking to it, but your hand is already reaching. Your fingers close, the monks begin to chant. The air trembles, they are not words. They are suggestions or rhythm. Older than breath, you feel your pulse conform. The key pulses once in your grip, you know what it unlocks. The vault beneath the listener's throne, where the first verse was sealed, where they kept the throat, they said it was burned, they lied. So many lies, layered in song, harmonized into theology, the monks stand now. Their joints creak in perfect unison, you retreat. The stairs spiral upward again, but this time, they are bone, no brass, no music. Just the slow, crunching descent of silence, inching up behind you. At the top, the door is gone, but a mouth has replaced it. Set in the wall, huge, toothless, open, waiting. The psalm said, when no door remains, sing into the wall. It will reply in blood. You clutch the key. You step into the mouth, and it closes behind you. The mouth does not swallow you, it holds you. Like a tongue might hold a drop of something it isn't sure is poison or nectar. The air in here is moist, impossibly warm, like the breath of something long dead but not yet decayed. You feel the softness around your ankles, the velvet crush of flesh-stitched walls giving ever so slightly beneath your steps. The silence isn't pure, there's a rhythm to it. A hush-hush-hush, like lungs that won't give up. Then you notice the slick surface beneath your feet is moving. Not fast, just enough to carry you somewhere. Without consent, you're on a conveyance of neat. The gullet of this place flexing in slow peristalsis, drawing you deeper without motion on your part. How polite, you touch the walls, they sigh. The Psalm of Vorther refers once to the silent hall, where prayers are swallowed before reaching the divine. It was dismissed by later scholars as metaphor, poor fools, because you've arrived. The walls peel back like theater curtains. Before you yawns a cathedral sunken into flesh. Not carved, but grown, the pews are ribs. The altar, a shattered jawbone propped open with iron rods. Light bleeds from the cracks in the ceiling, not sun or moonlight, but a faint pink glow, like the inside of an eyelid. And at the center, the choir, or what remains of them. They stand with their backs to you, 17 children, no older than 10. Bald, barefoot, in tattered white robes that hum faintly when they move. Their throats are open, but not bleeding. Hollowed like flutes, from their wounds, a sound rises clear, bright, beautiful. They sing in absence. You should not hear this, no one should. The black sermon was not written to be heard whole. You tried to cover your ears again, but the song vibrates in your bones, bypasses flesh and thought and soul. You hear languages you never learned, see shapes in your vision even with your eyes shut. A glyph of unknowable emotion pulses behind your eyelids. You recognize one of the choir boys. Your fingers twitch involuntarily. That's not possible. You never had a brother, did you? The choir turns. Their faces are smooth as wax, mouthless, with blank eye sockets. But some of them begin to smile anyway, or the suggestion of smiles creases pulling through skin where no muscles should move. They raise their hands, point behind you. You turn. The mouth you entered is gone, replaced now by a figure seated where the altar once stood. You know this figure, the cantor without lung. A figure from pre-scripture myth, recorded only in the fifth Forbidden's fragment. And from that throat came hymns not born of breath, but wound. His chest is caved inward, a vast hollow in his torso from which silver strings emerge, stretching outward and upward like a harp. There are no lungs inside, only dark, coiled forms sliding against the rib edges, producing subtle hisses with every twitch. His fingers are impossibly long, each one ends not in nail, but tuning pegs, and as you stare, Those fingers move, tightening one string. The sound it makes is a cry you haven't made yet. You realize your ribs itch, no dash burn ... You look down. The center of your chest trembles. Your sternum cracks like an eggshell beneath invisible pressure. You drop the ivory key. It rolls across the floor, slows, and stands upright, perfectly still. As if waiting, the cantor speaks without voice. A dry rasp in your head, like dead leaves rubbed between teeth. You came to listen. Another string tightens. Your shoulder snaps backward. You scream, but the sound comes from the wrong direction. It escapes through your spine, ripples outward into the choir's harmonics. The children begin to dance, slow and ceremonial, their feet never touching the ground. You carry the chord. The buried note you always have. The cantor rises. His legs are fused together in a long tapering tail of bone and silky glides. Not walks, he approaches the key. Lowers one pale hand and bows. You recoil. The cantor never bows. He only honors kindred. The choir stops. Their heads twist and sink, bones creaking with terrible precision. Each one now whispers the same phrase again and again. Breathe the note. Bleed the hymn. Breathe the note. Bleed the hymn. The cantor holds out the key to you. No offers, a test, a ceremony. If you take it, you open the final passage. You unlock the place where breath becomes blade. The psalm says, "The bearer of the throat key shall not speak again, lest him devour their soul by halves." You take the key, your chest unlocks. The bone part's not cut, not shattered, it opens. A gentle pull, the kind reserved for prayer books. Inside you, a new voice stirs. A harmony, a discord, a hunger. The cantor smiles. A smile that splits his head in half. The choir vanishes. You are alone with the hymn now, and the mouth in your chest is learning its first word. The mouth in your chest whispers your name backward, not the one you answer to now, but the one buried in the parish record of a church that burned itself from existence to centuries ago. The whisper isn't sound, it's exhale-shaped memory, scraping through your ribcage like dry leaves pushed by wind that shouldn't know you. Your hands tremble, not from pain, from rhythm. There is a beat inside you now, percussive, deliberate, wrong. Not a heartbeat, a drum stroke of intention, measured by something ancient and pleased. You feel your lungs adjust to it. Your spine arches slightly in time. Your shadow joins in, mimicking movements you haven't made yet. The cantor without lungs steps backward into nothing, just ... Recedes, like a breath held too long finally loosed. The cathedral begins to close. The choir reassembles without walking. Their forms shimmer like candlelight reflected in blood, reforming into one mass of flickering white robes and hollow throats, and they chant something new. It begins where breath ends. The Psalm of Vorther refers to this moment obliquely. The voice that returns from the tomb is no longer yours. You understand that now. A corridor peels itself from the side of the cathedral. It beckons. The floor is carved with spirals, concentric and maddening, identical to the scar between your shoulder blades you could never explain. Each step you take is mirrored in reverse by the echoes. Your footfalls come before you move. The key in your hand hums. It wants something. No, it remembers something. There's no light now, but you see everything. Walls of flensed scripture, stitched pages made from tongues long since silenced. You brush your hand along the surface and feel it twitch beneath your palm. The song in your chest answers, and the wall ... listens. Your fingers begin to trace the sigils instinctively. Spirals become sentences. The sentences curve back into thoughts. Thoughts you don't remember having, images of a spiral staircase made of vertebrae. A door knocker fashioned from your grandmother's knuckle bones. The smell of ink and baptismal fire. Your name, your first name, reappears. Carved into a door made of faces. Each face is quiet, but their mouths move slightly. Some blink, some weep ink, none scream. You place the key against the lip of one open mouth. It inhales, The door shudders, opens, inside. A room you shouldn't recognize, and yet do. Your childhood bedroom but inverted, soaked in mildew, and lined with crawling parchment skin. The bed is there, though taller now, with curtains that whisper when you blink. A toy box hums faintly. You approach it. Inside, bones. Dozens, maybe hundreds, all child-sized. Arranged carefully into an instrument. A xylophone made of siblings you never had. The mallets are your own fingers. You touch one key. The sound it makes cracks the wall, while whisper escapes from the break. They've been waiting to be remembered. The light flickers. No, the light doesn't flicker. The idea of light in this room flickers, as though some part of the world forgot how shadows work. You blink and find yourself seated, not by choice. The hymn has become a commandment. You feel it growing teeth in your chest. The mouth in your ribs speaks again, but now it uses your voice. I recall the blood scroll. I recall the fire beneath the choir. I recall the sermon's first gasp. Your hands lift of their own accord, begin to play. The room responds. Each note brings color back to the bones. Each measure draws breath into things that should remain still. The choir boys emerge from the corners, smiling, whole, breathing. You've reversed something, or maybe triggered it. One of them walks toward you. Eyes filled with ink, he speaks with your mouth. We sang until our lungs turned to ash. You wrote the verses. You carried the scroll. You locked the door. We only waited. He hands you the scroll. No paper, just skin. Tattooed with runes in your own handwriting. You feel the weight of authorship, of guilt. You wrote this song once. You sealed it beneath flesh and cathedral and hymn. You thought it would sleep forever. But the ash in their lungs is gone now. Their voices are returning. The hymn has begun. You try to close the scroll, but it clings to your fingers, merges, crawls back into the seams of your palms, slithers beneath your nails, coils up your arms like ivy made of commands. Breathe, the child says, and begin the sermon again. The door behind you seals shut. You feel the congregation stir, far beyond the wall. In the places where light was bled out, something listens, not in curiosity, but in expectation. They've been patient. Your lungs expand with borrowed air, and the first syllable tears your throat into song. The first note escapes, and your breath is no longer your own. It coils from your lips like smoke given purpose vocalized shadow. Sung in a time older than marrow, each syllable you produce is jagged, slashing the air into obedient silence. The walls don't echo, they swallow. The song knows its path, and your body is merely the vessel. You sing, and the room listens. The choir boys form a circle around the bone xylophone. Their eyes don't blink, their feet do not move, but their mouths open wider than mouths should, and they join your note. The harmony is unbearable, not for its volume, but for its precision. Each tone splits reality slightly. The seams in the stone ooze lightless ichor. The shadows leak upward, dripping to the ceiling as if gravity rethought its allegiances. The scroll that vowed tapestry now etched beneath your skin burns faintly. You feel the verses uncoil inside your bones, like worms stirred from damp loam. The song carves through your muscle, tuning your sinew to a key only the damned recognize. From the wall, a door unlatches itself. You don't see it move, but suddenly it is open. On the other side lies the listening chapel, mentioned only once in the Black Psalm of Vorther. When the music remembers itself, the listening chapel shall open its teeth, and the sermon shall be devoured whole. You step forward, not by choice. Your limbs sway like marionettes, guided by melodies written in extinct blood. The choir follows, still singing, but their bodies remain behind. Only their voices move with you, weaving around your ears like silk that cuts. The corridor to the chapel is narrow-lined with frames that contain no images, only impressions. When you look at one, your nose bleeds faintly. From the other nostril, ink. The floor is not stone, it's compacted song. You feel the echo of forgotten hymns beneath your feet, murmuring, no penance is ever silent. As you cross the threshold into the chapel, the architecture changes. There are no pews. There is no altar. Only a vast amphitheater of empty rib cages, each positioned upright. Fossilized into listening poses, their sternums are cracked open, as if every skeleton suffered the same divine vivisection. And in the center, a conductor's stand, crowned in thorned obsidian. The scroll inside you surges. You walk toward it, every step heavier, as if you carry not just your body, but your past lives too. Behind your eyes, images. A hooded figure writing on vellum made of eyelids, a weeping god stripped of his vowels. A songbird impaled on a tuning fork, still singing despite the ruin. When you reach the podium, your arms lift again, this time not in mimicry, but in command. The rib cages hum. You are the conductor now. And the orchestra of the dead is eager to perform. You lift one finger. The first ribcage lets out a moan, not vocal, but musical. A sustained, low harmony that bleeds dust. Then another joins, then 3, then 1,000. The listening chapel becomes a storm of resonance. The song infects the stone. The ceiling begins to weep black honey. Your bones ache with rhythm. You open your mouth to scream, but only verses emerge. The black sermon has begun, and the chapel responds. Above you, from the rotunda of the ceiling, descend the scripture leeches, translucent creatures with the faces of librarians and the hunger of archivists. They affix themselves to your arms, spine, and throat, not to feed, but to read. They inhale the verses from your marrow, and with each line they consume, more of the chapel awakens. The ribcages sway now, not just with sound, but with intention. The spiral floor pulses. The walls bend inward. The idea of a ceiling blinks out entirely. You are beneath the sky now, but not your sky. This one is inked with unconstellations, symbols that move when watched, and burn into your retinas when ignored. The firmament hums in dissonant approval. You lift your other hand. The music stops. A breathless silence grips the chamber. Then, every ribcage cracks open simultaneously, releasing names. You hear thousands. Yours is not among them. But one stands out, repeated in reverse and whispered by the leeches against your spine. Thereof, you don't recognize it, but your hands bleed upon hearing it. Your shadow flinches. You drop to your knees. The scroll begins to retract, sucking the verses back into you like venom returning to its fang. The leeches unlatch and spiral upward, vanishing into the sky that now knows your name. The choir boys reappear. They do not sing. They watch. The conductor's stand dissolves into ash. The amphitheater exhales, and beneath it, the floor splits. A stairwell downward slick with centuries of ink and regret reveals itself. The listening chapel has devoured your sermon. Now it demands the offering. Your feet obey. One step, another. The air thickens, coalescing into a soundless sob. Above, the ribcages begin to whisper once more, in reverse. And the spiral staircase welcomes your descent. The staircase spirals like a vertebrae torn from a titan, each step curved, not worn, but memorized as if the stone itself recalls every soul that ever dared descend. The ink lining the walls isn't dry. It breathes, it watches. And it judges. You continue downward. Each footfall feels lighter, not because you grow bolder, but because gravity has started to forget you. The descent no longer leads down. It leads inward. You notice it, don't you? The pressure in your chest, the flickering of memories that aren't yours being taught to write with a scalpel, not a quill. Waking up inside a locked music box with no lid, being crowned in silence while your reflection weeps. Someone or something is unfurling you from the inside out. That's how you know you're nearing the Archivum Chorus. The black psalm of Vorther warned. Below the song lies the Archivum, wherein spoken verses decay with dignity, and every echo awaits its listener. You arrive. There's no door, just a membrane, veined and humming, stretched across the threshold like a lung's last breath. You press your palm against it, and it opens, not tearing, but parting, as if you've always been expected inside. Cold parchment fog curls like incense. Rows of suspended manuscripts dangle from ligament threads. They aren't written with ink, but with voice residue, the crystallized breath of the dead. Each syllable trapped in amber tone. You hear them all whisper at once. None speak sense, all speak truth. The archivum is alive, not metaphorically. You feel its pulse in the solace of your feet. The silence is symphonic, not absence of sound, but the weight of withheld harmony. And in the center floats the choir's spinal record, a massive, spiral ledger. Its pages vertebrae flattened and inscribed with vibrating calligraphy. It slowly turns in the air, exhaling dust motes shaped like screaming cherubs. The moment you step forward, the scroll under your skin writhes. It wants to join. But this is no offering, it is a test. You must extract the next verse yourself. You reach toward the spiral. Your fingers tremble not from fear, but from anticipation, like a starving scribe before a forbidden codex. You touch the bone leaf, it opens. A new verse burns itself across your vision. Wordless but loud, it is not language, it is command. You read with your nerves, you understand with your scars. This stanza does not merely sing, it summons, and you have no choice but to obey. The archivum groans, delighted from the gaps between shelves. The shelved ones emerge hunched figures stitched from unfinished compositions. One has a metronome where its heart should be, ticking without tempo. Another wears a mask made of hymnals stitched shut. They do not attack, they listen. You speak the verse aloud. The air cracks. Time here is now a suggestion. The shelved ones flicker forward closer until they surround you, swaying as if caught in a rhythm only they can hear. Your voice changes. It splits into thirds. One deep and wet like water rushing through tunes. One sharp and brittle like icicles on teeth. One your own tired, cracking, but defiant. Together, you invoke the choir's forgotten harmony. This is not safe music. This is music meant to be lost. And yet, here it is. The archivum shudders. Scrolls burst into flame, then reverse burn back into perfect wholeness. The spiral record rotates faster. From its pages, spectral notes rise thick and oily and pour into your mouth. You choke, not on smoke, on memory. Because now you remember, you were here before. Not in body, but in voice. You sang this verse long ago, during the first summoning. You were the opening note, and the curse lingers. Because those who begin the black sermon, they never truly stop singing. You stagger back, the shelved ones kneel. Their metronome hearts halt, synchronized to your rhythm. The archivum is satisfied. It gifts you a sigil, a treble clef formed of blood, carved into your palm without pain, but with meaning. The next door opens. This one is not veiled. It yawns like a mouth on its arch. To descend is to deepen. To deepen is to belong. You take one last glance at the spiral record. It slows. A name appears faintly on its surface. Yours, backwards, you step through, and behind you. The archivum sings you farewell a low, funereal chord that only the forgotten can hear. The verse you now carry is heavier than guilt. It throbs in your breath, stains your sight, haunts your pulse. The next chamber awaits. The voice loom, where the song becomes form, and form has a price. You enter the voice loom chamber where whispers weave flesh and shadow into something alive. The walls here are no longer stone but strands of sinew, pulsing slowly like a beast's throat. The air tastes thick, as if every breath must be earned. A loom stands at the room's heart, ancient and gargantuan, built of gnarled bone and polished brass. Its threads are woven not from fiber, but from strands of light and darkness, twisted impossibly together. The threads hum a low, vibrating chorus that prickles your skin. This is the loom that spins voices into flesh. You remember the black psalm of Vorther, where the choir's final note unwinds. The voice loom births the corporeal hymn. You notice, too late, that the threads shimmer with faint faces half formed, liminal, fleeting. Each face seems to mouthing silent prayers or curses. Their eyes hollow and pleading. You reach out. Your fingertips brush a thread. It thrums a spark of pain. Not yours, someone else's. You pull lightly. The thread resists, then slides free. Instantly, the chamber warps. The walls ripple like water, distorting your reflection. A shape forms from the threads, a figure draped in shifting shadows and tangled song. It is the choir boy of legend, the one who sang until his lungs turned to ash, the forbidden's lore whispers. The choir boy's voices, when severed from breath, become wraiths-bound to the voice loom, singing the damned's requiem for eternity. The figure reaches out, its hand more smoke than bone, beckoning you forward. You hesitate. Scholars argue endlessly over what the voice loom truly is, a tool of creation or a prison for lost souls. You don't have time for debate. The wraith's mouth opens, silent. You speak the verse from the Archivum scroll. The wraith's form solidifies, the threads knitting flesh and shadow into something terrible and beautiful. It steps back, eyes gleaming with unspent sorrow. You carry the melody, it whispers, but can you bear the weight? You realize the loom isn't just crafting a companion, it's crafting your reflection. Behind you, the chamber's shadows stretch and twist, coalescing into mirror images of yourself, each one humming a discordant note of the Black Sermon. The wraith fades into the threads, but its voice lingers in your mind. Beware the chorus of echoes. Their song will claim you if you falter. You step away, the sigil on your palm burning faintly, guiding you toward the next passage. The voice loom's threads hum a warning as the door closes behind you, a vibration in your bones that promises the next trial is waiting. You descend into the catacombs beneath the keep, where silence reigns thicker than dust. The air is heavy with the scent of damp earth and forgotten prayers, and every step echoes like a shudder through your bones. The torches along the walls flicker, casting shapes that twitch just beyond the edges of your vision. These catacombs hold the remains of the ancestors, the cursed bloodline from which the king's crown was forged. Their bones, piled and intertwined, are set to carry the burden of their sins, each skeleton a story of betrayal and madness. Your fingers brush against a jagged river rib that seems to hum softly with an otherworldly resonance. The black psalm of Vorther murmurs in your mind. From the bones of the fallen, power is born. The crown's cruel edge carved by blood and sorrow. You pick up the ribcage fragment. The bone is cold and slick, etched with ancient runes that writhe beneath your gaze. It pulses faintly, as though still alive with the echo of a long-dead king's wrath. A whisper brushes your ear, the dusk drinkers of Carpathia, shadowy spirits who feast on the despair of the living, said to haunt catacombs such as these. They feed not on flesh, but on memories, stealing the past to shroud their victims in eternal night. Suddenly, the shadows coalesce, figures rise from the bone piles, half-seen specters with hollow eyes that gleam with hunger. Their silent approach crushes hope beneath their ethereal feet. You clutch the ribcage tightly, feeling the weight of lineage and doom settle upon you. The catacombs shift, passages realign as if alive. No living scholar dares explain why the walls remember the sins of their dead so vividly. You run, the whispers growing louder, the spectral hands grasping at your soul. You burst through a hidden door, the light of the upper keep washing over your trembling form. The ribcage pulses still, the dark promise of the king's crown binding you tighter to the blood scroll's cursed fate. You find yourself in the throne room, but it is not the grand hall you expected. The tapestries are threadbare, their colors faded to mournful grays. The air is thick with the scent of burnt incense and something darker, old blood, long since dried but never quite leaving. The throne itself sits atop a daze of bones, the seat carved from skulls that seem to leer up at you with empty, accusing eyes. The king's crown rests upon the armrest, gleaming faintly in the dim light. Crafted from a ribcage, it's a grotesque masterpiece, each bone polished until it catches the gloom like sharp teeth. You remember the black psalm of Vorther again, its verses echoing through your mind. The crown binds the blood feeds the crown, and through the blood, the curse unbinds. As you reach out, the crown's surface ripples like black water, and your reflection distorts within its eyes hollow, mouth twisted into a silent scream. The crown's power hums beneath your skin, a sentient hunger that pulses with every heartbeat. A chorus rises around you, the choir boys, their voices once pure and celestial, now wrenched into unholy lament. They sang until their lungs turned to ash, their melodies trapped within the stones. Their music claws at your sanity, notes sharp and discordant, weaving shadows into the air. The legends speak of the choir's curse, how the boys were sacrificed to awaken the blood scroll's true power. Scholars argue endlessly whether their souls are bound within the crown or lost forever to the void beyond. You feel the room shift, walls narrowing, the shadows growing teeth. A flicker catches your eye, a stained glass window depicting a ritual, a king's ribcage broken and reforged, a crown born in agony. The keep's voice whispers now, a velvet menace wrapping around your thoughts. Wear the crown, sing the curse, or become silence. You hesitate, the weight of lineage heavy on your shoulders. The crown waits. The crown's weight presses down as you lift it, cold and unforgiving, as if the bones themselves resist your touch. The air tightens, thickening like fog rolling over a graveyard, muffling your breath. Your reflection in the fractured mirror fractures further, an echo of the king who once wore this cursed relic, his eyes hollow wells of despair. The black psalm murmurs again in your mind, phrases you never learned but now understand by heart. A rib's embrace, a blood-bound throne, a serpent's coil of flesh and bone. You feel the whisper of forbidden knowledge slither through your thoughts, the blood scroll itself, a relic not merely of parchment but of living, bleeding scripture, inked in hemoglobin and sorrow. It is said the scroll's verses can bend fate, but at a cost no soul has yet paid without tearing itself asunder. You hear a faint chant behind you, the choir boys' voices, strained and ashen, rising in a crescendo of unbearable beauty and torment. The shadows shift, coalescing into figures with cracked porcelain faces and hollow eyes, their mouths moving in silent hymns. The lore debates what these specters truly are. Are they remnants of the choir boys' shattered spirits, forever trapped by the blood scroll's curse, or are they something older? Creatures from the dusk drinkers of Carpathia, beings who feast on voices and memories alike. You take a step forward, the floorboards creaking beneath you like a whispered warning. The crown grows heavier, its hunger palpable. The walls pulse with the heartbeat of the keep, the very stones alive with a dark sentience. A sudden chill creeps up your spine, the master's mirror from the east wing appears in your vision, beckoning with its promise of escape, or perhaps deeper entrapment. Its reflection once begged to trade places, now it waits silently, patient and insidious. Your skin prickles as the crown tightens, as if binding your fate irrevocably to the blood-stained throne. You wonder, not for the first time, if wearing the crown will save you or doom you to an eternal sermon in shadows. The echoes of the choir boys' final hymn linger like smoke, curling through the keep's cold corridors. You follow their spectral song into the hall of ashen voices, where the air tastes faintly of burnt parchment and forgotten prayers. The walls here are draped in black velvet, threadbare and moth-eaten, embroidered with sigils that seem to writhe when you blink. You trace your fingers along the tapestry, rough with age, sticky with an unseen residue. The Black Psalm of Vorthur claims these sigils bind not only voices but memories, trapping both within the fabric's dark weave. Scholars argue if these wards protect the keep from the outside world or imprison the damned inside. As you step further in, the ground beneath your feet seems to breathe. A slow inhalation that matches your own. Your heartbeat throbs in your ears, a desperate drum trying to break free. The cursed lineage of the keep's last king gnaws at your resolve. Blood soaked into stone, woven into song, a legacy no air can escape. The choir boys' voices swell once more, their lungs burning to ash with every note. You notice a cracked music box on a pedestal. The source of the haunting melody, it's carved from bone, its gears stained with dark rust that gleams like dried blood. The box's lid bears a carving of the blood scroll, a script so arcane and alive it seems to writhe beneath your gaze. No one alive dares decipher its verses, fearing that the words themselves might unravel the singer's soul. The unsolved eldritch mystery remains. Does the music box summon the choir boys, or do their voices bind it in eternal torment? You can feel the weight of the question pressing on you like the crown's cruel clasp. A sudden gust snuffs the candlelight, plunging you into darkness. When the flame flickers back, a shadow looms long, twisted, and unmistakably sentient. It edges closer, tendrils reaching, whispering promises and threats in a tongue older than the keep itself. You shiver. The shadows here don't just cling, they hunger. Much like your situation now, isn't it? The shadow recoils as you clutch the bone music box, but its hunger lingers and itch at the edge of your sanity. You retreat deeper into the hall of ashen voices, where the walls themselves seem to pulse with an unseen heartbeat. The fabric of reality here frays. Threads of sound and silence intertwining until you can no longer tell which is which. The black psalm of Vorthur whispers to you now, a cursed lineage unraveling like a frayed tapestry. Its verses claim the king's crown was forged not from gold or jewels, but from the ribcage of his father, bones cleaved and twisted into a circlet of torment. Wearing it, the king claimed dominion over death itself, but at a cost. The crown bound his soul to the blood scroll, an ancient grimoire penned in ink of congealed blood and whispered madness. You reach for the scroll, its surface shimmering faintly under the pale light. The script writhes and shifts, reshaping itself when unobserved, much like the portraits in the gallery you passed hours ago. Scholars debate whether the blood scroll is a cursed object or a sentient relic, some arguing it contains the lost souls of all who dared to wear the crown. A cold dread creeps up your spine. The air tastes of rust and ash, the scent of burned lungs and lost prayers. The choir boy's song fades into a low hum, the lullaby of the damned voices caught between salvation and oblivion. Their lungs turned to ash long ago, yet their cries echo still, tethered to this place by ancient rites and broken promises. You notice a faint inscription beneath the scroll's spine. Beware the voice that watches, an unsolved mystery. Whispered among Forbidden's lore keepers, some claim the voice is the last breath of the first king. Others insist it's the collective torment of the choir boys themselves. Forever bound to sing for their sins, the shadow flickers once more, now closer, almost familiar. It whispers your name, or something like it, curling around your mind like smoke. You want to run, but the keep's grip is ironclad. Every step forward feels like sinking deeper into a web woven by forgotten gods and damned kings. Much like your situation now, isn't it? You clutch the blood scroll tighter, its cold surface biting into your palm as if alive, breathing beneath your skin. The whispers grow louder, threading through the shadows like serpents weaving a curse you can't shed. The crown's tail unfolds, forged from ribs shattered in betrayal. It is a symbol of power steeped in blood and bone. Wearing it meant inheriting not just a throne, but a lineage cursed to repeat its sins in endless echo. The black psalm of Vorthur murmurs warnings only the mad dare heed. The choir boys, voices silenced but never stilled, haunt this place. Their ash-stiffened lungs still sing in the silent halls, a choir of the damned whose song pulls at the edges of your mind. Each note a shard of pain, each melody a trap enticing and deadly. You step into the chamber of broken hymns, where the air is thick with the iron scent of old blood, stale incense, and burnt parchment. Shadows writhe in the flickering candlelight, forming shapes that shift just beyond the corner of your eye. A canonical trope, sentient shadows that clutch at your soul, eager to steal the warmth from your bones. There, against the far wall, stands an altar carved from black marble veined with red bloodstone. The old texts call it. Upon it lies a chalice, tarnished and stained, filled with a dark liquid that seems to pulse with a life of its own. The Forbidden's lore fragment surfaces. The chalice once held the last tears of the first choir boy. Collected under a blood moon, to drink it is to invite the voice of the past into your throat, to bear witness to unspeakable memories. No scholar alive can say why the weeping statues in this hall bleed only when unobserved. Their silent tears stain the marble, the crimson trickling like living veins. You feel their sorrow pressing in, a crushing weight in the silence. The eldritch mystery curls around your thoughts, a riddle without answer. As you lower your gaze, the shadow slides closer, a whisper curling from its dark lips. The crown's hunger never fades. You shudder but hold firm. The blood scroll is your burden now, your curse to carry. Remember the voice in the mirror, it waits. You follow the narrow corridor lined with blackened tapestries that seem to absorb the light, swallowing it whole. The scent of damp earth and forgotten graves clings to the air, thickening your breath and dragging your footsteps slower. Each echo, a hollow reminder of lives extinguished and promises broken. Ahead, the choir boy's crypt awaits, a vaulted chamber carved from bones bleached white, stacked and shaped into cathedral arches. Their lungs may have turned to ash, but their voices linger, pressed into the stone, a lamentation trapped between worlds. You feel it resonate in your chest, a low vibration that pulses with your heartbeat. The blood-rusted iron gates creak open to reveal a pulpit carved from a single rib bone, the very rib from which the king's cursed crown was forged. The rib's surface is pocked with strange runes, their meaning lost to time but tinged with dark power. Scholars debate endlessly whether these runes were protective wards or curses that condemned the royal line to ruin. You don't need answers. The weight of their meaning presses upon you with crushing certainty. A flicker of movement catches your eye. Sentient shadows detach from the walls, whispering a fragmented hymn. The black psalm of Vorther, the bloodline's dirge. The shadows swirl around you, forming faces twisted in agony and rage. They speak without words, their stories inked in anguish and regret. You wonder if they are remnants of the choir boys' souls, forever bound to sing for the sins of kings. The eldritch mystery deepens here. The crypt's echoes grow louder when silence falls. Yet no choir can be heard, only the suffocating presence of absence, a void filled with soundless screams. A sudden choke crawls along your spine, and you realize the blood scroll pulses in your grasp, eager for the final verse. The crown's hunger is not yet sated. Remember the crown's rib, it thirsts for more than just power. You retreat from the crypt's bone-thin shadows, the whispers clawing at your mind like ravenous rats beneath floorboards. The corridor you traverse now narrows, walls slick with a darkness that seems alive, pulsing, breathing, watching. You know the blood scroll's ink stains your fingertips, its curse a slow-burning poison that seeps deeper with each step. A solitary door bars your path, its iron hinges groaning under the weight of centuries. The sigil embossed on its face, a crown woven from ribs, gleams faintly, as if freshly baptized in blood. You press your palm against it. The metal burns, yet you cannot withdraw. It's a reluctant bond, binding you to the keep's damned legacy. Beyond the door lies the chapel, where candlelight dances on walls etched with forgotten confessions. Here, the choir boys once sang their final hymn until their lungs turned to ash, voices scorched and shattered. The chapel's altar demands sacrifice, though never of flesh, secrets, whispers, sins. You feel the air thicken as if the stones themselves thirst for whispered betrayals. You remember the Forbidden's lore fragment, the black psalm of Vorther, a chant so potent it could rend souls from bodies, seal fates, or unravel time's thread. It's said that the choir boys' last song was a prayer and a curse entwined, binding their spirits to the king's rib-forged crown, a crown hungry for fresh stories to devour. The stained glass above shimmers oddly, faces shifting, some pleading, others mocking. A sudden realization gnaws at you. The portraits in the keep aren't the only things that shift when unobserved. Even the glass itself conspires, rewriting history through fractured light. A flicker behind you, the sentient shadows now forming ragged choir robes gather, their hollow eyes fixed on your trembling form. The eldritch mystery whispers once more, is this chapel a sanctuary or a snare? No scholar alive dares answer, for the keep punishes curiosity with silence deeper than death. You lean closer to the altar, feeling the rough stone bite into your palm. The crown's hunger claws at your mind again, ready to add your voice to the eternal chorus. The candle gutters, casting elongated fingers of shadow across the cryptic runes. The air thickens, smelling of scorched parchment and old ash as you step away from the altar. the chapel's whispers curling around your spine like frozen serpents. Your breath fogs the glass panes. But the faces staring back are not your own. They twist, elongate, some with smiles too wide, too sharp. The ribbed crown's curse is heavier hair, pulling at your thoughts like gravity warped by a black star. Ahead, the choir boys' voices rise again, not from any throat, but from the shadows pooling beneath the pews. Their song is broken, a hollow chant dripping with desperation and menace. The cursed lineage of Vorther's kings clings to this melody, weaving its power into the very stones. You recall the tale from Forbidden's lore, the silent lament of the forsaken, hymns sung by those who perished unbaptized, their voices eternally trapped in the echoing void between worlds. It is said this lament shields the crown's secret, that the ribs used were not merely bones but vessels of unspeakable pacts made in blood. The chapel's stained glass fractures like a spider web, reflecting shards of memories you cannot place. You notice something strange, a flicker of movement in the corners of your vision. The sentient shadows have shifted again, gathering like a congregation of lost souls, their presence both threatening and mournful. Scholars debate endlessly, is this haunting a curse? Or is it a collective nightmare birthed by guilt and despair? No matter, the keep consumes all answers, devouring truth and sanity alike. Your fingers itch where the blood scrolls, ink seeps beneath your skin. The shadows whisper of an unsolved mystery. The choir boys' lungs burn not by flame, but by a cursed breath drawn from the abyss between notes, the silence between prayers. You shudder, feeling that void press against your heart. A sudden coldness sweeps through the chapel as the candles extinguish in unison, plunging you into a darkness thick and absolute. The voices fall silent, only the sinister promise of the ribbed crown remains, waiting. You emerge from the chapel's shadow into the long corridor where the walls themselves seem to pulse with a slow, agonizing heartbeat. The portraits here, once mere witnesses, now murmur in low, trembling tones, remnants of forgotten prayers and broken promises. The cursed crown's influence reaches even this far, seeping like ink into the very fabric of Vorther Keep. The echoes of the choir boys' songs still cling to the air, but here they twist into a discordant hymn, a dirge for the lost souls trapped beneath the stone. Their voices are fractured, layered with the mournful cries of the Black Sermon, a liturgy so dark that even the oldest texts hesitate to speak its name. You pause before a cracked mirror that no longer reflects your face but the hollow gaze of a king long dead. His crown fashioned from the bones of his father, the blood scroll's legacy etched deep into his lineage. His eyes follow you, imploring, accusing, warning. The corridor is a liminal space, a threshold between the seen and unseen. The sentient shadows you sensed earlier now coalesce into forms, gaunt figures with faces obscured by veils of smoke, their presence both protective and predatory. Their purpose is unclear, guardians of a cursed secret or hunters seeking a new vessel within the hidden recesses. You glimpse a fragment of Forbidden's lore, the Black Psalm of Vorther, that speaks of a ritual where choir boys' lungs turn to ash to summon a voice from beyond. This voice, trapped in the ribbed crown, sings the keep's true history in a language of blood and bone. An unresolved mystery gnaws at your mind. Why do the weeping statues bleed only when unobserved? Some claim it's a manifestation of the keep's sorrow. Others whisper of a pact broken, of sins that cannot be cleansed. The corridor's whispers grow louder, wrapping around you like a shroud. The ribbed crown's curse presses down, a weight of inevitability. Your steps falter, caught between the desire to flee and the need to uncover the truth buried in the blood scroll's dark symphony. You realize that escape is no longer a matter of will but of understanding, decoding the haunting melody that binds the keep and its damned choir boys forever. The air thickens as you descend the spiral staircase carved from bone-white stone. The walls slick with an unseen dampness that smells faintly of ash and old parchment. This is the chamber where the choir boys once gathered, now a crypt of echoes and broken hymns. Their voices, once pure, are now warped into whispers that claw at your sanity, weaving a tapestry of dread that clings to your every breath. In the flickering candlelight, The black sermon's stained glass windows flicker and shift, revealing images that never settle. Faces twisted in rapture and agony, a ribcage entwined with thorned vines, a crown forged in blood and bone. These are relics of a ritual lost to time. A cursed lineage where the king's power was siphoned from the sacrificial flesh of his father. You sense a dark pulse beneath the floorboards, a heart beating in sync with your own. Or perhaps the heartbeat of the blood scroll itself. As you move deeper, the shadows detach from the walls, swirling into an unholy choir whose song is not meant for mortal ears. They speak of the dusk drinkers of Carpathia, spectral beings said to feast on the despair of the living, and you wonder if these shadows are remnants of those cursed souls. Bound eternally to the keep, the ribbed crown weighs heavily on your mind, a constant reminder of the price paid for power. It hums with a sorrowful resonance, a dark lullaby that seeps into your bones. The Black Psalm of Vorthur, a forbidden text you glimpsed earlier, hints at a secret. The crown's true power lies not in dominion, but in the binding of voices silencing one to amplify another. But the greatest mystery remains unsolved. Scholars argue endlessly over whether the Hound of Hollows is a demon summoned by the king's blood magic or a collective nightmare born from the collective guilt of the keep's inhabitants. Tonight, you feel its presence closer than ever, a gnawing terror that licks at the edges of your vision. As you reach the chamber's center, the ashes of the choir boys' lungs swirl like smoke around you. Their voices crescendo, a haunting chorus that promises revelation and doom. The choir boys' song reaches a fevered pitch, vibrating through the chamber like a swarm of unseen locusts, gnashing and tearing at your mind. Their lungs, turned to ash long ago, still exhale despair, their voices trapped in a spectral crescendo that never ceases. You feel the air grow thick, each breath a labor, as if the very walls draw your life force with every note. The Black Sermon began here, in this chamber of broken hymns and shattered innocence, where the king's crown was not just worn but forged, a grim relic hammered from his father's ribcage, imbued with the curse of blood and bone. The ritual demanded voices sacrificed to the void, choir boys whose lungs collapsed beneath the weight of a hellish chant, leaving behind ash and silence. Yet their voices echo still, caught between worlds, a chilling dirge that binds the keep. Faintly, you hear whispers of the Black Psalm of Vorthur, a forbidden chant said to summon the dusk drinkers, those who feast on souls before the final breath. The keep's stained glass shimmers, the colors bleeding like wounds, and the crown's bones seem to pulse with a heartbeat not your own. You realize with a sinking dread that the crown's power is less a symbol of rule, and more a prison, each whisper and breath a shard of lost humanity trapped in its cold embrace. No scholar has dared fully unravel the mystery of the Blood Scroll's origins. Did the king steal his power through dark magic, or was the crown itself alive, a sentient relic craving sacrifice? The legends diverge, but the keep's shadows offer no answers, only more questions. Behind you, the Hound of Hollows scratches at the doorframe, a creature woven from guilt and terror, its many eyes gleaming with unnatural hunger. The choir's song fades, replaced by the heavy silence of impending doom. You are caught between worlds now, the blood-ribbed crown tightening its grip, and the voices beckoning you into darkness. The keep's voice is yours now. The crown's weight rests on your brow, heavy as a curse, carved from bone and soaked in betrayal. The choir boy's song is no longer distant, it thrums within your veins, a litany of ash and loss, a melody that will never end. You stand on the threshold between king and captive, monarch and sacrifice, the blood scroll's final page turning beneath your trembling fingers. The chamber around you warps, the stained glass fractures into shards of remembered screams. The whispers curl tighter around your throat, and the cold breath of the hound brushes your neck. Its nails, long as regrets, scrape promises of oblivion. You hear the Black Psalm's final verse, a summons not to power, but to perdition. The walls lean in, pressing secrets into your skin, and you understand, escape is a cruel joke. The keep does not release its voice, it borrows lungs, steals memories, and feasts on souls. Your reflection in the shattered mirror no longer matches your gaze. It smiles with the king's cruel grin. The hollow crown fashioned from rape and blood. The blood scroll demands a new scribe, a new vessel, a new voice to whisper its dark litany. Your name etches itself into the cold stone. A brand of eternal servitude. The candle gutters. The dark between the pages stirs. Go on, then, close your eyes. They'll watch for you. The candle's flame flutters once, twice, then surrenders to shadow. Your breath slows. The chant softens into a distant echo, like a dying man's last sigh lost in the tomb's cold. The pages close, but the ink still bleeds beneath the surface, whispers curling like smoke that never quite dissipates. Outside the chamber, the keep's heart pulses in time with your own slow, dreadful rhythm marking the hours you will never forget. The blood-ribbed crown presses harder, reminding you that the voice you carry is no mere story. It is a pact, a shadow stitched into flesh. So, listen well, for the keep's voice is hungry, and it speaks not in promises, but in warnings. Whisper its stories, or it will borrow your lungs to scream them. The blood scroll song does not end. It never ends. Go on, then, close your eyes. They'll watch for you.